From now on, I will never leave an estate sale until I've checked every inch of every room. I'll tell you why in a moment. Hey everyone, and thanks for joining. I learned a very important lesson yesterday. Went to an estate sale. We got there about 8 o'clock in the morning. It was scheduled to start at 9, but they were handing out tickets at about 8:30. Because of COVID, they can only let a certain amount of people into the building. We got there at 8 o'clock. I think we were number 4 or so. Everything was great. We got inside. It was promised to be a really big and hopefully lucrative estate sale. We walk in and it's a lot of the typical stuff, glassware, clothing, stuff that you see just about in every estate sale you ever go to. And that's fine because there's a lot of people that source those items. But my wife and I have a plan when we get in there, and we definitely did for this place. I wanted to get some records. I wanted to look for some old paper, which is something I love to do, and so does she. We searched high and low. We found a couple of scrappy books, nothing great, old cookbooks, but nothing very old, 70s, which is not old enough. We were about to bail. We went down to the basement. It turns out the man that passed away was a machinist of some renown too. He was in World War II. He was a machinist. He had incredible equipment down in his basement. There was a free-for-all down there for people that collect tools and machinery. It was great. So we got down to the basement. We searched again for the things that we looked for. Didn't see anything. I went back upstairs. I was kind of let down and thought that, okay, c'est la vie, we'll find more at the next one. My wife suddenly texts me as I'm sitting down at a table, licking my wounds, and says, "Get down here. I just found a secret room." Beelined it downstairs. There were a lot of people down there, and they were all concentrating on the tools. But all of a sudden, in the corner, the back right corner of this basement, the guy literally had a hidden door. My wife somehow found it, opened it up, and let me show you what was inside. Well, what was inside was an absolute treasure trove of old books and manuals and manuscripts and blueprints and computer hardware and software from Commodore 64, which I'll show you guys in a moment. Army discharge papers from World War II, diplomas, certificates of completion. This guy was an amazing engineer, machinist. He seemed to do everything. Auto repair books, everything under the sun. My wife was, in typical fashion, crawling down under everything. There was some mildew and some not so great items on the floor, but the more she dug, the more treasures she uncovered. And amongst them was a great selection of Commodore 64 software, books, computer basics, how to program BASIC, the language, all sorts of stuff. It was absolutely incredible. Well, here we are. I figured we'd jump over to my eBay screen and show you a quick sale that we were able to get the same day I listed this item. Picked this up in the secret room downstairs in the basement. This gentleman had a bunch of Commodore 64 hardware and software. In this case, piece of hardware. It's called a data set. Essentially what this is prior to the days of floppy disks and definitely prior to CDs, this was the way that you would interact with a computer with regular cassette tapes. The programs were on cassette tapes. This is the player, the cassette player. It's like installing a CD drive or any sort of external device to your computer. Well, this was what they used back in 1982, which I remember well because I was in high school at that time. And this item we bought for $6. $6. It might have actually been less because it was combined with a whole bunch of paper, which I'll be showing everyone probably in part 2 of this video. If you net it out, this probably cost $1 or $2. Well, as you see, we sold it full price, $90, $89.99 plus $8.55 for shipping. It weighs a little more than 2 pounds, so it's going to go priority. Probably had it listed about 2 hours. Got a lot of views. I figured there'd be some interest in it, but I was amazed that it sold so quickly. Sold within 2 hours, $90 for a $6 purchase. You can't beat that. All right, keeping with the Commodore stuff, because it seems to be doing really well. This, also from 82, is for the Commodore VIC-20. which was another version of the Commodore 64, just a different type of computer. Introduction to Basic Part 2 with a couple of cassettes like we just discussed. Well, that's where the programs were held. And along with the cassettes is a booklet to learn the language BASIC. Very, very cool item. This is not sold yet. I just listed this. I listed about 15 items so far from this stash. I'm going to go through a bunch of books and paperwork and sort it out and do some comp searches. But I figured the easy things to get up right away would be these Commodore items, vintage quote-unquote computer stuff. Sounds funny to me, but I guess for younger people this is considered old-fashioned or whatever. But it's really cool. Put it up for $39.99. There was a couple of comps out there. None of them were in the condition of this one. I'm not certain that this was even ever used. It certainly has some age toning on the box. You could see that little bit of browning. But the cassettes were pristine. I don't think they've ever been taken out of the case. They were rewound completely. The booklet's perfect. It's $40. It ships media mail because it's a book and cassettes, which is media. So it's a nice, cheap ship. And I'm hoping that this would be sold quickly. Today is Saturday, so it's been up a little over a day. We'll see what happens. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, and here is another basic. This is part 1, the computer language basic. This is for the Commodore 64 from 1983, just a year later. Same thing, teach yourself programming. Put it up for the same price, similar condition. This one it's not quite as new looking as the other one is. I think this one might have actually been used, but it was used sparingly. Overall, wonderful condition. Again, a little bit of age toning. You can see that browning on the box there. But the booklet is in wonderful condition. Put it up for the same price. Again, media mail, so it should ship cheaply. I'm sure somebody will pick this up shortly. Okay, another Commodore program here. This one's simply called Household Finance from a company called Creative Software, who made programs for the Commodore 64 and the VIC-20. A basic finance program on cassette. It's kind of unique and hard to find the cassettes now because the quote-unquote old ones are typically on floppy disks. Now, this predates the floppy, so they're a little bit more scarce, if that makes any sense. Really cool item here. It's just basic, accounting. A couple of booklets, and it also has it says the summer of 1983 collection from this company, Creative Software. It has some games and some other programs. I put this up. I found one comp on eBay for this specific program. It was kind of ripped apart and looked really lousy. So I put mine up, $24.99. We'll see what happens. Well, breaking away from all the computer stuff, this one certainly stood out. It's much newer. It's only from 98, so that's not very old at all. But what it is a brand new old stock NOS copy of the collector's edition Wizard of Oz version of Monopoly. Sealed, factory sealed, perfect condition. I put it up for $60. There were some comps again out there that were comparable. It ships a little more expensively because it's a large item. I think it's like about 24 inches wide, and that causes the shipping price to increase just by virtue of the size of the box. But anyhow, this item was an absolute steal. It was marked at $5, but again, because we bought so much stuff, it probably worked out to cost about $1 or $2 at the most, and we have it up there for $60. And now I'd like to show everybody a couple of the books we picked up. There's got to be at least 50. This one is by a company called Allied out of Chicago. It dates from April of 58. The book's first editions were in the early 40s, but this one is from April of 58. Really cool. It's a how to build a radio handbook. Perfect condition. You can see, again, some age toning. Anytime you see that browning of paper, it's called age toning. It's just a byproduct of age. The book is in phenomenal condition. It looks like it's mint. Beautiful inside. Really cool. Again, this guy, he just seemed to dabble in just about everything you could possibly do. He built computers. He built television sets. We found out he built radio sets. He was a master builder. He did woodworking. He was a mechanic. And apparently he built radios as well. This is a book on how to build a radio. We put it up for $18.99. It's in wonderful condition, ships cheaply with media mail. It has an accompanying book, which I'll show you right now, and that is the Radio Circuit Handbook. It just has some more detail inside about the circuitry involved on the board for the radio. It also has a really nice pull-out poster that is literally brand spanking new. It's huge. It pulls out to about 36 inches wide. It's a foldable poster. It has all sorts of detail about a specific radio. It's like a blueprint for a radio. Amazing stuff. So I put this up for a couple of dollars more because of that poster. So hopefully somebody that's into radios, and there's a lot of folks into radios, will pick one of these books up, or hopefully both of them. Now these books, did I mention the guy dabbled in a lot of fields? Well, he was also a mathematician. Tons of math books, sophisticated math books. This is a pretty basic level math book. It's algebra, geometry, and a hint of trigonometry. I combine these books because, like I said earlier, I think we have 30 or 40 of these blue books. They're all from a company called ICS. It's a school, International Correspondence School. These all date from 1953. I lotted these up because I didn't want to list each one individually for 10 bucks or so. So I 7 of them. We have 4 versions of algebra, 2 of geometry, and 1 of the trigonometry tables. We'll see how that goes. If these sell, and I anticipate they will, I'll probably do a couple of other lots like this with these blue, little tiny blue books. They're small. They're probably like 4 by 6 or something like that. We'll lot them up and we'll sell them to math fans. And the final item I'll show you for this first part 1 video, I think this is working easily into part 2, potentially even a part 3. A lot of stuff back there. But this is just the size of this book makes it an absolutely amazing find. It's Websters Dictionary, 1957. It's unabridged. That unto itself doesn't sound that impressive, but the reason I chose that photo that you see there is the main photo. This book is, I think, about 6 inches deep. It's enormous. It weighs almost 14 pounds. It has a kind of an ornate cover. It's not leather, but it's like a pleather, if you will. Very ornate design on it. Looks really nice. It has some markings. It has a lot of age toning. It has some pencil drawing. Apparently somebody drew some pencil. A couple of the pages have pencil through them. But I just think the novelty of having a book this huge will hopefully make it sell. It's a beast, 14 pounds, big book. I even wrote, I said enormous book in the condition description. We'll see what happens. There were a couple out there that sold for 50, 60 bucks. I put mine right at the $50 mark. Shipping, even with media mail, you're looking at 10 or 11 bucks because of that weight and size. But okay, well, that will do it for part 1 of this video, which is slowly morphing into at least a 2-parter and probably a 3-parter. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. If you haven't done so already, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. I hope you enjoy this kind of content. I love this stuff. We're learning. This is a new channel, a new series for us. We have a great time. I hope that everybody finds some inspiration, some knowledge, and some joy out of watching our videos. So again, thanks so much for joining, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.